Well, hello. I am Matt Williamson. Coming down to the end of the week, looks like we have a beautiful Friday here in Pittsburgh after a yucky, rainy week or two. It's been a swamp. But it looks like a nice, beautiful weekend. Probably going to do some non-football things. You know, now that things are cooling down a little bit, but I'll have my finger on the pulse. So not a ton to talk about today, to be very honest with you. We got rookie minicamp coming around the corner. Hoping to get down there and check that out. Might even be broadcasting from down there. Haven't heard yet. Schedule release show I'm going to do next Thursday night with Dale and Pursuta. So the schedule releases at like 8 p.m. next Thursday. So those are some things on the horizon. But I went around as I do every morning, there's about 10 to 12 sites I frequent every morning. And there was a couple nuggets out there that I thought were all Steelers, but were relevant, fun to talk about, maybe even something, I'll expand upon. But just going to share some things, much of it from Pro Football Focus, and say what you want about them. I mean, they put out a lot of content all year round, and they obviously have a different perspective on things and bring some things to the table that I can't because of all their analytics and all the data stuff they do. But my buddy Mike Sando, who I worked with at ESPN for 10 years, really good dude. He's now at The Athletic, and he's so wired in with the different front offices, coaches, all that. He put out an extensive article today with quotes on all 32 teams from executives around the league and whatnot. And I just wanted to read a few of them. Frankly, the Steelers one wasn't as extensive as some of the others, but it was positive. I mean, as you can imagine. So here was one quote. They get a left tackle, they get a corner with traits, and they got a good interior D lineman to solidify their lines. So summarizing was they got three really important things, and they got big physical guys like you and I talked about yesterday. There are a lot of big traitsy type players. Here's another one that after talking about the selection of Darnell Washington, another executive said, they are different in that their tight end has to block. It's one of those positions for them that can have strict criteria that they are not afraid to use draft picks, from Mark Bruner to Heath Miller to Pat Freiermuth and now Washington. They all are on the plus side of 250 pounds, at least 6'4", and they can catch. I think you'll see a lot of two tight ends and run the ball. Dead on. I mean, I couldn't have said it better. I mean, these teams, I know Kevin Colbert's not there, Omar Khan is, and Mark Bruner was a long time ago. By the way, he's a scout for the team and a really good dude, and we saw him down there. But it remains that they don't want Evan Ingram, and Connor Hayward to me is a specialty player. Yes, he walks in the tight end room, but he's not like the others. I mean, they want big bodies there, and that might sound like, well, what's so special about that, man? I mean, it kind of is. I mean, a lot of these teams blocking and playing in line isn't nearly as important to them as being just a move option. And that doesn't make the Steelers archaic, in my opinion. It's just, if you look at the Packers, they won't take any receivers that are 5'11" or under. There's just some teams have certain parameters that have worked really well over the years. I mean, look at the Packers receivers, Jordy Nelson, all the way down the line. Tons of good ones. Devontae Adams. They don't use first-round picks on them, but they all kind of look the same and do the same stuff, and it keeps working. So true with the Steelers tight ends as well, really going back to Freiermuth, but especially Heath, going back to Bruner, but especially Heath and Freiermuth of late. That's more the Tomlin era, of course. So that was well said. And then this was another thing that Pro Football Focus put out was they put out their superlatives, just a couple sentences on all 32 drafts. And this is a little ambitious for me, but their headline, and it wasn't just for clickbait, if you read all of them, was Pittsburgh Steelers. They secured potential starters in all 7 rounds. I mean, if you get 3 starters in a draft, that's great. So here was the clip. The Steelers drafted potential starters in rounds 1 through 7, and it's very rare that you can say that about any team any year. So they recognized it as well. Their start seemed picture perfect, with them selecting Broderick Jones, Joey Porter Jr., Keanu Benton, and Darnell Washington. But the hits kept coming with Nick Herbig and Corey Trice on day 3, This is one of my all-time favorite hauls compared to my draft board. It's pretty nice praise. One of my favorite hauls ever, not just this year. So real quick along those lines, before we go to break, I want to read you their Broderick Jones capsule as well. So where he wins, mentality. Remember I was talking yesterday about his physicality, the nastiness. You want to tell him, whoa, not, whatever that saying was I said yesterday. You don't want to, you'd rather reel them in than try to light a fire under them. Obviously, when we talk about mentality, this is combined with some awesome raw power from the true junior, but Jones will likely go higher than his PFF grades might suggest simply because of the way he plays the game. It's easy to envision what his mentality paired with a more consistent technique could lead to. So these were their pre-draft analysis of Jones. What's his role? Tackle, obviously. What he can improve? Something I've been telling you about a lot. Hand placement. There's no doubt that Jones's hands are powerful when they do get a hold of defenders, but they lack the precision for him to be a quality starter in the league at the moment. You can't just punch in the NFL. You have to latch on. And we will see that too infrequently from Jones. I agree. I also think he could time his punches better. He could use his hands independently better as opposed to a two-hand punch. Here's a couple of the pros. He's built like a sequoia tree, thick lower half. What do we talk about with theme? Big, nasty. Other pros, deadening punch in pass protection. When well-timed, it ends a rush. Agreed. Plays how an offensive line coach would dream, wants to punish defenders. 100%. Cons. Inconsistent hand placement. Doesn't establish engagement nearly as much as you'd like. Just talked about that. Bad habit of waist bending against speed rushers to the outside. And I would take it a step further, dipping his head as well. And I think the dipping of the head thing leads to the waist bending, to be very honest with you. Just think about that. If you're retreating in pass protection and you dip your eyes, even for a split second, you're probably going to bend at the waist. Another con, also not his fault, this isn't his fault. Just a season and a half of playing time, played 203 true pass sets in college. And their definition of true pass sets are interesting to me, like a bubble screen, an RPO doesn't count as a true pass set. So they're talking 3-step drops, 5-step drops, 7-step drops, that type of thing. So he only has 203 of them in his career. So again, you don't expect them to be super refined. Last thing, and then we'll go to break, was bottom line, another year of seasoning could have made Jones a top 5 pick. He still may end up close to that range with his dominant physical skill set. I couldn't agree more. And again, if he isn't even the week 1 starter, folks, do not crush him over it because all those things we just talked about. All right, I'll be back in a minute. I got a quick little thing here for you that I think is really intriguing too. All right, we are back. This also is from Pro Football Focus, but they put out three things you should bet on, I think was the title. Like, these are really solid bets that you can make right now that they encourage you to do it. And one of them involved the Steelers. Like, for example, the other two were Seahawks over 8.5 wins. Okay. And the Dolphins under 9.5 wins. They have a really tough schedule. Things like that. But their favorite bet is the Steelers to go over their 8.5 win total. So Pro Football Focus, if you go to any site, I haven't, but in Vegas right now, the Steelers win total is 8.5 out of 17 games. And they get one extra home game, remember every other year. So AFC gets the 9th home game this year. But here's what they had to say about it. And I couldn't agree more. I think 8.5 is very low for this team. I think the number should be like 9.5, to be very honest. But there's some other underlying reasons that they they throw out here that I very much agree with. So last year at this time, Books set the Steelers' initial win total at 7.5, with similar juice to the current offering on both sides. While it did take a 4-game win streak to finish the season to go over that number, the foundation for a successful 2023 seemed in place. And frankly, I mean, I'm just ad-libbing now, but I think this team is, as constructed on May 5th, is better than one win, better than last year's team as constructed on May 5th, if that makes sense. We know more about Pickett, things like that. So anyways, back to what they had to say. Kenny Pickett posted a top 15 passing grade in his rookie season. And that was even with the awful first half of the season. Maybe more encouraging, he also posted the 7th lowest turnover-worthy play rate in the entire NFL. His ability to take care of the football should help a Steelers team that is still intent on letting its defense dictate its performance. Pittsburgh's draft class, which I cited before, they love, should be encouraging as well, as the team filled holes at crucial needs and should be better along the offensive line and in the secondary this season. Crucial parts for creating wins, of course. Additionally, the Steelers will match up against the NFC West and the AFC South. Even though they play in one of the toughest divisions in football, the Steelers will still have one of the softest schedules in the entire AFC. So I think that's pretty encouraging stuff. So some of this is some betting stuff that I don't always understand. But anyways, this is a spot that the PFF simulation finds value in as we project Pittsburgh to finish with a full win more than its current betting expectation. The team looks undervalued even at the minus 130 price given their current schedule outlook. Even if they post a sub 500 record in the AFC North, they could still easily go over this number if they win 3 of the 4 against the NFC West and AFC South, which figure to be the 2 of the worst performing divisions in all of football. The NFC West looks horrid. I think the Cardinals and Rams might be in direct competition for the first overall pick. Niners are a challenge, there's no question, no matter what, but who knows what their quarterback is. I'll be real interested to see where that lands on the schedule. Is that going to be early with Purdy coming back? Who knows? And I think Seattle's going to be good. I guess Pro Football Focus agrees, that they want their over as well. AFC South, all new quarterbacks by the time, who knows when you're going to play those guys. Jacksonville looks formidable again. I think Tennessee's going to be really bad. It might not be long before you see Levis. I think the Colts rebound, but Richardson's going to be a work in progress. And Houston will probably be bad, but be encouraging. So can you win 6 of those 8? Can you win 5 of those 8? And 3 in the AFC North? I mean, then you're almost home in terms of your 8.5 win total. So I like that bet very much as well. That's a wrap. Everyone have a great weekend. Over and out. If there's something you want me to talk about, just shoot me a note on Twitter @WilliamsonNFL.